operate on the theory that you can never have too many lights. When you're into image-based creation, whether it's content creation, whether it's photography, whether it's filmmaking, short filmmaking, whatever you're into, it's all about the manipulation, the control, the capturing of light. So you can never have too many tools to get that job done. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's true that most jobs that you do, most projects that you start, you probably won't use everything that you've got, at least not after you've built up your kit. And there are certain things that you have that maybe you'll only pull them out once or twice a year because they're very specific, they're very niche. But when you're new to this, when you're first building that kit, your first 1, 2, 3, 4, even your 5th light, it can be very, very hard to choose what to buy, to figure out what you need, because you kind of want everything. You kind of need all the bases covered. You need a jack of all trades, which is where this light comes in. This one right here, it's just sitting beside me. This is the Neewer RGB168. And put it like that, you can see it's quite a bright panel. Let's put it like that. You can get an idea of the size of it right there. Let's push that actually a bit closer onto the screen. There we go. It's a very, very, very bright panel. It's at full output right now. We'll flip it back around. You get an idea of the back. There you go. You can see there's a bunch of controls. You got slots for batteries, all that sort of stuff. And just to give you an idea of the thinness, there you go. It's quite a thin little panel. This I've had for about 3 or 4 months now. I've been using it quite a bit. It is something that I had wanted for a while. Now I've got a bunch of Aperture MC lights. They're about this big, they're tiny. And this is the big brother. Not same company, but the same concept. It's a panel light, it's square, it's got a bunch of temp control, it's got a bunch of RGB control, HSI, depending which way you look at it. It's got a bunch of special effects built into it that it can do. But overall, it's just a big soft light. The little ones are nice, they're handy, they fit in all sorts of spaces. But I wanted something that had the same features as that, but in a larger form factor. So I grabbed this, and in playing with it, I realized where this fits into the market, and it's actually very, very interesting. I will go a bit more into what that is and all about that in a second, but why don't we just pause right now. We'll jump down to my table over there. We'll take a look at the back so you can see exactly how you control this thing, what it does, what the features are, and that sort of stuff. And you get a better idea what I'm talking about when we come back up. See you down there. So we're just going to take a quick look at the back so we can get our head around all the different features and so that you don't get lost when you're actually using it yourself. First thing to point out, of course, is that when you get a new light, you're going to have to mount it on a stand or something to put it in position, and they've got quite a smart little solution for this. If you push this up there, you can see on the back there's a nice solid plate. It's pretty firm in there, and it comes with this section here. This is a pretty solid, it is plastic, it's not metal or anything, just a little metal washer there, etc. Yeah, but it is quite heavy duty and solid and fairly easy to attach and remove. Takes a little bit of muscle though. Now push it in like that, push that button down, and just give it a push forward till it clicks, and then it's in place. Removing is exactly the same, and with this you can mount it on your stand and you can tilt and swivel and do whatever you want to your heart's content. The only thing I don't like about this is that over here on this side, you can see there's nothing there, and it would have been really handy to have another slot to put that so you can move it around just in case you want to put this in a more vertical situation. Anyway, moving on from that, let's talk about the power solution for this. There are 2 ways that you can power this. The first, of course, is dual NPF or Sony style batteries. You're just going to slot them right there. They're fairly ubiquitous. I've got a ton of them myself. I use them for all sorts of things, so most people shouldn't have a problem with that. Just slot them in there. Any size will do. Of course, the bigger ones will last you much, much longer. The other is, it does come with its own little power supply, and you're just going to plug that right in. Let me find my end here. Yeah, it just plugs in just like that, little barrel connector, and as you can see, 15 volts is what it's supplying. Moving on from that, there's your power switch, and then this confuses me. I'm not sure exactly why they've done this, but as you can see, the switch has, it's a 3-pole switch. Up for the 2 batteries if you got them installed, and down for the external power. I'm not sure. If anyone knows, please leave a comment below, but I'm not sure why there isn't just a simple on-off. But it is what it is, and it is there, and of course to turn it on, you know, flick it down, and it turns on, and if you looked, there you can see underneath, that is now on, and we'll look at our main screen. And it's flipped over to HSI. We're going to start with CCT for a second. The interface, Took me a minute to figure out what it is. I didn't read the manual. I just sort of dove right in, but it's fairly straightforward. You have a mode button. As you can see, you can go through the different color modes that you have. You have your function buttons, which will select or alter different things. We'll go through that in a second. And down here, you have a dial to increase or decrease whatever parameter you want. So if we're the CCT, we can go for the intensity. You see that lights up, and then we can dial that down or up as we want. We can go for our green and magenta tilt. We can go for our color temperature over here. And this one here, it's just a dummy. It's letting us know that it's currently at version 1.1.0 in the firmware there. Pretty straightforward for the color temperature, of course, intensity, temperature, and a gamma shift. That's all you really need there. Moving on, we go for the HSI, and similar sort of thing. We have the intensity to select what we want, whether it's intensity, saturation, and hue, and again, we still get our version there. So you're going to select whichever one you want, and then adjust accordingly. The third one is where things get a little bit more complicated, because this is the special effects, the various scenes that are in there. And you can see they have 4 things down the side here. And so with these now don't become selectors, these become up and down arrows. So if I go up, you see in intensity, and then our color temperature, and our gamma shift, and our rate for this specific one right here. If I go in there, let's bring this down to 1. Okay, so we're now in a lightning setting, and these settings pretty much remain the same. Go back to the next one, 2 and 3. It's a light bulb setting. Those are the same. Let's see where I can get to one where it's a little bit different. Okay, this one has an extra setting down here, Ember, which will be selected with that switch. Go back to there, number 5. That is now rate. So everything in this section is going to change. It's going to shift a little bit, all depending on which version or which scene or special effects parameter you got. I'm going to see if I can find, there you go. So there's a big shift there from this one, which has intensity, color temperature, the gamma, green, magenta, and your rate. And then if I go to the next one, boom, that all shifts. We have intensity, hue, saturation, and rate. And again, if I go through the other ones, they all change just a little bit. We have our flashing lights, we have our fire scene, we have just a hue shift, another CCT for some reason, various different things. There are, I believe, let's see, there are 17 different effects. There we go, party effects. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of a hint of what these are like, what they look like in use, but that's pretty much it for the interface. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's go right back. Most often, you're going to end up using it in the CCT or the hue. Just pick whichever color you want and set the intensity, or go back to the CCT and just set your color bounce and your intensity to what the scene requires. And there, so now that you've seen exactly what it does and how simple it is to control, and one thing I didn't point out in the up close as well, I should point out now, there is an app that can be used to control it. It's fully featured. In fact, it gives you even more granular control over all those effects. All the things that you see in the back, that's basically half the different features that you can control when you use the app. And the app can control a bunch of lights at the same time. Basically anything recent made by Neewer has app control, so you can control them as a group and all that sort of stuff, which can be really come in handy, especially when you're behind the camera and you've got a lot of different lights set up and you just want to be able to visualize what you're doing and just tune in a little bit down there, a little bit greener or a little bit redder over there, etc. That sort of stuff. So that's really handy and not something that you usually see in a device at this price point. Where I think this really fits in, I mean, clearly, if you are a filmmaker, if you've got a van and you throw in your C-SANs in the back and you're traveling around and you're doing bigger level productions, perhaps you want something a little bit hardier than this. But if you're studio based, if you're a smaller production, if you're a 1 or 2 person production, if you are doing photography, if you're doing content creation for online specifically, this is a fantastic little addition to your arsenal. In fact, it's a great first light. This really simplifies the setup. Now, I see a lot of people over the last couple of years who've gotten into YouTube, and the first step when they get into lighting is they look at what the big boys have and they try to emulate that. So they get themselves a big COB, a big cob light. They get themselves a massive softbox or a big octabox. I have one right here. It does fantastic. It is great for this job. but it's not really useful for taking photography. In my studio, that is just way too big and way too much power. I've got it on about 10%. Literally, I've got it dialed down. It's great for lighting up a scene when you're doing a movie. It's great for making it look like it's daylight outside when you're shining it through the window and you have to film at night. It's great, flick it on and off, or to put it on the special effects for lightning through the windows again. For big lights, things like this are fantastic. For a proper full person portrait, absolutely wonderful for this. For something that is about this size that I'm taking a picture of on a table, this is overkill. This is way too much. If you are a content creator, especially if you live in a smaller place and you have to share your space, this kind of light setup, this will take up half your room. The stand alone has a meter wide circular footprint, and then this just it is huge. It is huge. I don't mind it. I have the space and I like what it does for me, and it's something that you might want to work towards. But in the meantime, something a bit smaller that can do multiple purposes, something like this is really good to operate as a key light for a single person. If you were streaming or if you're doing talking head videos like that, this will definitely get the job done. In fact, let's just completely off script right now. Let's just turn this off. This is completely off script, and as you can see, there is no light on me now, except, okay, I'm completely out of focus because I'm in the wrong position. Let me get there. Now, if I was to raise this up, because that's too low, get up a bit like that, turn it a bit like that, maybe move it a bit around. And I'm thinking that I need to reduce my intensity to there. Okay, so this is not a fantastic look. I will admit it. It's very dramatic. There's some very dark shadows here. But you can see with a little bit of fine tuning, and as you can see, this was done off the cuff. This was done spontaneously as I'm filming live, and I've got the cornerstone for a good key light here. I need to adjust my settings a little bit on the camera. I do need to actually probably pull that a little bit further back. You would definitely want to be out of frame, a little bit further like that, perhaps. Or like that. I'd probably want to have some sort of bounce on this side to fill in. Just a little white card or a white wall on this side would do it. A little bit of something on the back just to add some rim light would really make this pop. But as the start, as the key, this gets the job done. Let me just flip that off. And hey, Studio. I always get that wrong. Hey, Google, turn on Studio. And we are back to our regular lighting setup, which I have to admit, it's a bit better than that. But, hey Google, shh. Anyway, point is that you can get a great deal out of that as a key light. It might take a little bit more work. This setup that you see, this is the result of many hours of fiddling and twisting and turning and adjusting things to get them just right. That was literally 2 minutes of playing spontaneously, and yeah, everything was in the wrong spot. Well, my point is, you could use it for a key light quite easily. If you are filming during the day and you have a natural light as your key light, you could very easily use this. Temperature, tune it in and use it as your fill, or use it as a backlight, as a rim light, use it as a background light. Again, it is very flexible, and you're gonna get a nice, big, broad, soft light. Something that you can't really get with small lights, something that you can't really get with strip lights, and something that usually you don't get without using something with a softbox. That's one of the big key features of it. The other key feature, of course, is that full color spectrum, that you can use it in various special effects ways. Now, to be honest, I don't really use that too often. I will either have it in some version of white, of clear light, or I will have it in a very specific hue that I've chosen to act as a rim light or a background light or a special effect light. But going through cop car lights and candlelight and all that stuff, I don't use that often. Although it could be very handy depending on your narrative and dramatic purposes if you're doing something a bit more ongoing rather than this kind of thing that I'm doing here. overall, I think it's, like I said, it's a fantastic little light. It covers a lot of bases for a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances, which is why I'm so enthused by it. I'll tell you the truth, I have 4 or 5 different cob lights around here. I have big ones, I have smaller ones, anywhere from 60 watts all the way up to about 200 watts. I've got some old panel lights. I've got 4 of them in the background that you can't, 5 of them in the background that you can't see above me. I've got a ring light sitting over there that barely ever gets touched. I've got strobe lights. I've got little tiny lights. I've got bar lights. I've got lights coming up my butt. And for the last 2 or 3 months, I've been using this as my main light. This has been the go-to when I'm doing photography specifically, but also short form intros, outros, little bits and pieces for film or for motion, just because it is so simple, so easy. Because it runs on batteries, it's incredibly portable. I can throw this in the back of the car with a couple of batteries. I can head out to the middle of nowhere, and if I just need a spot of light just to bring up the shadows somewhere, I've got this. If I want to do a talking face, a talking head video and the sun is going down, I can use that for that with no problem, because it's not tied to the mains. I'm not tied to the wall with it, and I don't have a great big ballast that I have to carry everywhere. All of this stuff that I'm talking about would mean nothing if this was a $600 light that was out of the reach of your average entry-level or beginning content creator, photographer, filmmaker, or whatever. However, I picked this up in Australia, where the prices tend to be a little bit higher than the rest of the world. I picked it up for about $186 from Amazon. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Now, for $186, you expect things to be kind of made of cardboard. You expect them not to be quite durable. But again, bringing this back into camera, the build, it is a solid plastic. It is a plastic. If you dropped a heavy flight case on this, this would potentially crack. Yes, I'll admit it. That's why I say it's not for filmmakers and above. For them, go Aperture, go Amaran, go for the big name brands. You pay the extra for that durability. But for studio-based or small production run people, $186 gets you a heck of a lot of a light. A lot of capability, a lot of power, a lot of fine tuning. And yeah, it is a hard, heavy-duty plastic. If you break it at $186, if you're creating content consistently, it's replaceable. That's the thing. It's replaceable, and you don't really have to worry about that in studio situations, because I'm not throwing my things around. I tend to look after my gear as much as I can. So that's it. Long, rambling, spontaneous. I didn't even plan half this video. It just kind of took its own bath. But I think that this is a fantastic light. I would highly recommend, if you are just entering into the creator space and you have no lights, $186. Probably, I think it's maybe 109 in the States. Just throwing that out there. I think that's randomly what it is. Grab 2 of them. Grab 2 of them for that price. You know, it's fantastic at what it does. If you are a photographer and you're looking at breaking away from strobes, perhaps you're moving into, I want to do a little bit more motion. I want to have the option to do that, so I need constant lighting. Again, 186, 109, depending where you are in the world. Grab 2 of them. It is definitely worth it. It is a fantastic, solid little light. And it's got features that you will not find on any light that's less than twice the price point of this. I looked around, and even Godox and Aperture themselves, there's not many lights with this full range of feature set for under like $450, something like that. That's amazing. So yeah, I will continue using this. This has become a permanent part of my arsenal. Like I said, grab 2 of them. I grabbed 1. I'm kind of regretting that. I might want to grab another one. Or do I grab something else for a review, something different? That's a hard choice for someone like me. Always looking for something different. Thank you guys so much for your time and for watching this random ass video. I hope that you stay creative. I hope that you have been inspired. If you like this light and you grab it, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. I'd like to hear what your feedback is. If you already have one of these lights and you have some comments, again, leave something down below so I can hear your feedback. I'd love to hear that. With that said, I am done. I'm out of here. Yeah, look after yourselves and stay creative.